Hey friends, Bryce Henson here, your global CEO, and shooting another Mindset Weekly check-in video. And we recently went over the habit loop. And if you take a step back, what we do here at Fit Body Bootcamp is really change habits, which actually can be really challenging from a human nature perspective. But long term, once you change that habit, you're off to a better life, a better routine, and more success with your fitness and fat loss program, which is the name of the game. So the first, step in the habit loop that we're going to talk about today is the cue. Now, if you think about it, human nature, we're cued to do things. And if you are familiar with the very famous research study, I think 100 years ago, Pavlov dogs, when Pavlov, the famous research scientist, basically rang the bell. And then ultimately, after being trained, the dogs would actually salivate just on ringing the bell, not even actually being presented the food. But because that cue of ringing the bell signified the food being presented, the dogs got hungry, salivated, and that was their cue. So for me, I'm going to be able to provide you 3 cues that have helped me on my fitness journey, and then really encourage you to take a step back and think about some cues that are maybe either helping or hurting you, and then reassess those so that way you can form good cues, which actually create better habit change. So for me, to kick it off, I actually have a bedtime alarm and a wake-up alarm, and when I hear the bedtime alarm, that is my cue to actually pour in a glass of Everyday Energy, what I put on my bedstand the night before I go to sleep. And the reason that's so important is when I wake up in the morning, when I hear my alarm clock cue, the first thing I do is I take my 16-ounce glass of water with my Everyday Energy, that has a little caffeine at 4 in the morning. I drink that, and then that's my cue to actually get going for the day. So that's one cue that serves me really well. The second cue is actually the Everyday Energy. We talked a little bit about that, but whenever I do have Everyday Energy, I get a little caffeine. That's my cue. My body starts getting in motion. I work out in the mornings on a weekly basis, and that is my cue, if you will, to get my booty working. And the last one, which is actually a new cue, specifically Fit Body Bootcamp that we're rolling out this year, is a 5-minute countdown timer before session. So before session starts, we'll say 5:15 a.m. the session starts. 5 minutes before the session starts, our coach puts on the timer, which is a cue that you have 5 minutes left in countdown fashion. That cue basically gets you excited, gets you ready, so that way when the timer completes, then the workout begins. So those are a few different examples of cues that have very positive connotations for me and for our clients to really allow me to create a better habit, to make sure I'm drinking water from a hydration perspective and also moving my body in a workout format. So my call to action for you is do some inventories. What are some cues that are working for you? What are maybe some negative cues that you need to adjust so that way you can attain a better lifestyle and a better habit formation? So that's all for today. We'll see you next week.